Ruben Amorim's huge problem as Man United player backed for first Premier League match in years. A former Manchester United player has urged Ruben Amorim to take action over the club's goalkeeper crisis. Suggesting Tom Heaton would serve best as a short-term solution, Ruben Amorim has been told he faces a huge dilemma following Altay Bayindir's era in Manchester United's defeat to Arsenal. It follows calls from former United star Ben Foster for experienced shot-stopper Tom Heaton to be given his first Premier League start in more than 5 years. The club's goalkeeping crisis took a turn for the worse on Sunday as Turkey international Bayindir flapped at a first-half corner, allowing Riccardo Calafiori to head home, the only goal of the game for the Gunners. United's regular number 1 Andre Onana was absent after missing pre-season through injury, and has attracted constant criticism for his own performances since joining in July 2023. Amorim got defensive when asked after the match if veteran shot-stopper Heaton, who impressed during the summer friendlies, should have started instead of Bayindir. However, ex-United and Wrexham keeper Ben Foster believes that would be the best solution for now to ease the club's issues in goal. That's despite the 39-year-old former Burnley star not featuring in the Premier League since the start of 2020, while Foster reckons Heaton would be the most suitable short-term option. He has reiterated his recent plea for United to go out and sign either Emiliano Martinez or Gianluigi Donnarumma before the summer transfer window shuts in less than a fortnight. He warned that failing to do so could risk Amorim suffering another disappointing campaign. Speaking on his Fozcast podcast, former England international Foster said, "This is a massive problem for the next game. It asks all sorts of questions and there's going to be so much talk surrounding it coming into that next game. You start with Bayindir, whose confidence will be low now after the first game. With Onana, people will be going, well, he's not much better. There's a lot of pressure. Tom Heaton, I would trust him to give me a 6.5 out of 10 performance. It just forces Man United's hand to go and sign a proper goalkeeper. I think if you can get a Martinez or Donnarumma, you've just got to do it. If you sign that player, it's going to be the difference between mid-table misery or really pushing for that top 6 despite United's woes in goal." Amorim declared himself content with his current options when asked about the situation after the Arsenal game. He said, "I'm happy with the 3 goalkeepers. Bayindir, chooses to get the ball, but is getting pushed. That is my feeling when I see the play. You choose to push a player out of the way, or to get the ball in that moment. He needs to use his hands to catch the ball, not push players. He chooses to push players and will let the ball pass." Meanwhile, Rio Ferdinand is another ex-United player who has offered a damning verdict on Bayindir's performance during the club's opening Premier League fixture at Old Trafford. Speaking on Rio presence, the United legend admitted he holds major doubts about the former Fenerbahce keeper. "What I would say is that it was a cheap goal," he said. "We gave away a goal. The keeper has got to be better. He'll be hugely disappointed, because this was his chance. The manager has gone with him and backed him and his had, really, one thing to do in his penalty area, and he didn't pass the test." Manchester United trading off its history as commercial growth. Ed Woodward, Manchester United's former executive vice chair, claimed to analysts in 2018 that the team's playing performance doesn't really have a meaningful impact on what we can do on the commercial side of the business. United's ongoing struggles on the pitch since then are bringing that assertion into question. After increasing its commercial revenues by a total of just 10% over the past 6 seasons, the club has been leapfrogged by its 2 biggest rivals, Manchester City and Liverpool, which between them have won 9 out of the previous 12 Premier League titles since United's last triumph in 2013. Even after a 15th place finish last year and a failure to qualify for the lucrative Champions League, United's commercial revenues remain commensurate with the most successful clubs in world football. Andy Green, finance director at Manchester United Supporters Trust and head of investment at private equity firm Rockpool Investments, warned that the club was trading off its history. Please use the sharing tools found via the share button at the top or side of articles. Copying articles to share with others is a breach of ft.com TNCS and copyright policy. Email licensing at feet.com to buy additional rights. Subscribers may share up to 10 or 20 articles per month using the gift article service. More information can be found at https://www.ft.com/tour. https://www.ft.com/3A6E8B111-5D50-403681740-4FTD523. As a new Premier League season gets underway, observers like Green believe the club now needs to deliver meaningful improvements on the pitch to stand a chance of reclaiming the ground lost off it. In 2023-24, United generated £302 million of commercial revenue, compared with £308 million and £349 million at Liverpool and Man City respectively. Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool and Tottenham Hotspur have all increased their commercial revenues at a greater pace than United has managed since 2019, albeit from a lower base. Please use the sharing tools found via the share button at the top or side of articles. Copying articles to share with others is a breach of ft.com TNCS and copyright policy. Email licensing at feet.com to buy additional rights. Subscribers may share up to 10 or 20 articles per month using the gift article service. More information can be found at https://www.ft.com/tour. https://www.ft.com/3A6E8B111-5D50-403681744F3754FTD523. In 2024, petrochemicals billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe paid $1.6 billion for a 29% stake in United in a deal that handed him control of its sporting operations. Despite its travails, Ratcliffe is confident in the United brand. It stands shoulder to shoulder with Coca-Cola and Apple, he said at the opening of the club's recently upgraded training facilities, a £50 million project overseen by architect Sir Norman Foster. The redesigned complex features an underwater treadmill and a high-altitude exercise room with adjustable heat and humidity. United has spent more than €2 billion signing players since Sir Alex Ferguson retired as manager in 2013, after leading the club for more than 2 decades as it dominated English football. Its net spend, which takes account of income from player sales, is €1.7 billion since Ferguson's departure, the highest of any Premier League club, according to data deeply unpopular period of cost-cutting, including scrapping free staff lunches, cutting bonuses and culling 450 jobs. Ratcliffe has sanctioned yet more spending on player transfers. So far this summer the outlay comes to about £200 million, spent on 3 attacking players, Mateus Cunha, Brian Bumo and Benjamin Eco. Only defending champions Liverpool. Ruben Amorim's huge problem as Man United player backed for first Premier League match in years. A former Manchester United player has urged Ruben Amorim to take action over the club's goalkeeper crisis, suggesting Tom Heaton would serve best as a short-term solution. Manchester United youngster Kobbie Mainoo was an unused substitute against Arsenal last weekend. There have been concerns about where Mainoo fits into Ruben Amorim's plans. But we're just 1 game into the new Premier League campaign, and it's certainly not time to panic. Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro started in the pivot against Arsenal. Manuel Ugarte was introduced for Casemiro in the 65th minute of the contest and Mainoo was left on the bench. Clearly for tactical reasons, Ugarte has a different profile, and Amorim decided his qualities were best suited to replace Casemiro. Mainoo started 2 games in pre-season, and they were both alongside Ugarte in the pivot. Fernandes made a few appearances in the number 10 role in pre-season, which allowed Mainoo a chance to start in the deeper role, but it seems like the pair are competing for the same role in the pivot. It seems Amorim views Ugarte and Casemiro as competitors for one of the deeper midfield positions, and views Fernandes and Mainoo as competitors for the partnership's other side. Amorim has tinkered with Mainoo's position since his appointment from Sporting Lisbon in November, which hasn't been particularly helpful, but it appears he has decided on which role is best for him. I think Mainoo, can play in both positions in the midfield. Last year, he played more in front. I think his perfect position is more near the ball, always with the ball, explained Amorim in the USA. Amorim also said Fernandes' best position in his system is closest to the ball, and he started him in the deeper role against Arsenal, so it's fair to conclude that's where he sees Mainoo's future. There were valid concerns about Amorim's handling of Mainoo last season, with the signs suggesting his future might be elsewhere, but there was a change of tone when Amorim spoke about him this summer. I think he is a big talent, and you guys know better than me that he is a big talent. I think he needs to increase the rhythm, the pace. I'm always on top of that with Kobbie, because he is so good sometimes, but he can be better. So I have big plans. But again, like I said, 1 game per week. The competition is going to be huge. Amorim was notably positive and seemed enthusiastic about working with Mainu. However, he tempered expectations last season and said he still has a long way to go in his development. At 20 years old, Mainu is obviously far from the finished article, but he is a supremely talented young player, and it would be a travesty if Amorim couldn't make it work this time. Not coming on from the bench against Arsenal is not a big deal, and Amorim should be given a few months to work with Mainu before any concrete judgments are made on his future.